It goes without saying, but not all of the types were created equal. But among the selection of 18 types, one of them stands out as an enigma. I'm talking, of course, about the Psychic type. It's gifted neither offensively nor defensively, and it occupies the lowest rung of the typing totem pole. But why is Psychic a bad type? To answer that question, let's list the factors that make a type good. It is able to pressure other common types offensively, it is able to resist common offensive types, and it synergizes well with a variety of secondary typings. For example, let's look at a good type, water. Water is able to offensively pressure fire, rock, and ground types that often permeate the meta, while only being resisted by 3 types, and having only 2 weaknesses in electric and grass. It also synergizes well with the other types to shore up a few of its weaknesses. For these reasons, water is extremely well balanced, and water is always a staple in the format that it finds itself in. Before we get into why Psychic is a bad type, we should take a look at the other types the competitive community often deems as the worst. The Ice type on the surface has an abysmal defensive profile, only resisting itself. However, Ice serves an important offensive role in dispatching common powerful types such as Dragon, Grass, Flying, and Ground. And while Ice type has a limited representation across past metagames, its influence can still be felt as it's often used as offensive coverage of some sort. Kyogre, a Water type, runs Ice Beam on its most common set in order to dispatch Grass types that resist its powerful water attacks. Additionally, many Pokémon have access to Icy Wind, a support move that both chips opponents, but more importantly, lowers their speed. On the other hand, Bug doesn't possess an extensive offensive profile or widely used coverage, but has a number of useful resistances to Grass, Fighting, and Ground, making it potent with the right combination of typing. For example, Scizor was a defining part of Generation 5 VGC due to its excellent typing. The combination of Bug and Steel allowed it to threaten other metagame staples like Cresselia and the Lottie twins, while in turn being able to take virtually any type of attack, aside from Fire. Now, before we shift our focus back to the Psychic type, I would like to shift your focus to the subscribe button. According to YouTube statistics, only 5% of my audience is actually subscribed, so if you enjoy these videos and want to help me out, I would really appreciate a subscription. It's free, and if you change your mind, you can always just unclick it. Now, back to the Psychic type. Unlike our dishonorable mentions, the Psychic type does not express itself offensively, defensively, or as coverage like Ice and Bug did. Psychic, unlike Ice, has 2 resistances, which are just itself in fighting, so it's barely a step up defensively. Also unlike Ice, a type deemed as bad, Psychic only threatens 2 types with super effective damage, neither of which are common in every metagame, and players are often better off trying to use different coverage against them. For example, one of the most popular restricteds in the VGC 22 metagame, Calyrex Shadow, does not benefit from its Psychic typing in any way. Offensively, it tends to run its signature move Astral Barrage, and another coverage move, often forgoing Psychic Stab, with very few slotting Psyshock to deal with Max Quake boosted opponents. Defensively, this problem compounds as Calyrex finds itself with 4 times weaknesses to Dark and Ghost. There are other examples of good Psychic types in this metagame, and past ones, that could be used as examples. But it's all the same story. They managed to find success despite their Psychic typing. With that in mind, let's look at the past formats in VGC and look at some of the most popular Psychic types. Tapu Lele, a staple of Gen 7 VGC, stands out as a rare example of the Psychic type adding to its viability rather than subtracting. It could set its own terrain and take advantage of absurdly powerful Psychics, even though there were plenty of popular Pokémon who resisted it. Of course, I have the feeling that its secondary Fairy typing helped in this regard, as without it, Lele would have no ability to touch the Dark types or threaten the popular Dragon types like Salamence. Mega Metagross is another example of a powerful Gen 7 Psychic type, but just like its modern counterpart, it very rarely runs Psychic Stab across 2018 or 2019, instead opting to run Ground, Ice, or even Electric coverage to deal with threats it couldn't otherwise touch with Psychic Stab. This trend continues as we go further back, with an average of only 2 to 3 common Psychic Pokémon per format and not a large representation of Psychic coverage. Surprisingly, the Psychic type used to actually be considered overpowered. Back when Pokémon first came to the console with Red, Blue, and Yellow, Psychic Pokémon were the strongest of the bunch. Psychic types only had one meaningful weakness in Bug due to a programming oversight, which made them immune to Ghost instead of weak to it. Yikes, but the only Bug stab move was Twin Needle. Yeah, I bet you don't even know what that move does. and the only one with access to said move was Beedrill, a partial poison type. Finally, Psychic types frequently had access to an overpowered boosting move, Amnesia. In modern games, Amnesia only boosts the user's special defense, but in Red, Blue, and Yellow, it also sharply boosted the user's special attack, since the special stat was just considered one stat. That's equivalent to getting 2 Calm Minds in one turn. In Generation 2, the reign of the Psychic type was halted with the introduction of 2 huge resists, Dark and Steel, as well as splitting the special stat in 2. Later down the line, the Fairy type was also introduced, which besides knocking Dragon types down a peg, completely outclassed Psychic as a fighting check. This isn't to say that Psychic is obsolete, of course. While it may not be traditionally strong like other types are, it boasts one of the most extensive and influential move pools in the history of competitive Pokémon. The most notable of these moves being Trick Room. On top of opening up new dimensions to the game, these moves also transcend the Psychic types due to their large distribution among Psychic and non-Psychic types. But that's the crux of the Psychic type. Despite having many supportive gifts, they are not exclusive to them by any means and often have to compete with other Pokémon that have access to these moves, while also benefiting from their superior typing. Do you need a screen setter? Use the Dark-type Grimmsnarl. Trick Room? Use the Normal-type Porygon 2. The unfortunate truth is that Psychic types are just outclassed in making use of their high average speed, special stats, and tricky move pool by non-Psychic types. Now, this doesn't make every Psychic type Pokémon automatically bad. As we've seen, there are many Psychic type Pokémon that are able to take names depending on the shape of the format. But is this because of their Psychic typing? Or is it because stupid base 150 speed and base 165 special attack and a base 120 no drawback spread move? And why did they give everything Ally Switch? Who balances?